Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where two bearded film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and I'm joined by co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. And indeed,
Hello.
hello, everyone.
And indeed, hello to absolutely everybody who could be listening. Whether you're listening the week of this movie's release, whether you're listening deep into the future, maybe you're listening on in an apocalyptic future on some tiny little device you've managed to find that somehow connects to the cloud.
Yeah, you've
Cloud.
just found an old cloud-enabled device in the wreckage,
And
and
you're
for some
listening.
reason, this is the only thing downloaded.
The only thing downloaded is this very episode, and it's been rated 5 stars, of course. And you're thinking, well, what are
I'd
these
hope so.
accents?
I would hope so. I mean, how would a society with such good taste end up collapsing on itself? You might wonder.
I
We
don't
can't
know.
answer those questions here. It's not here what we're here to talk about. But please do continue your research. Maybe you'll find other devices with other episodes on.
Maybe it's what's it called? Time capsule.
Could be.
A time capsule. I did see a funny comedy sketch recently with a time capsule, and they opened it, and everything they brought out was products and art and music, all all produced by people who have now been cancelled.
Oh no. Thankfully, no danger of that here. Can't be
Literally,
cancelled
like the
twice.
whole thing. It was like a record by Gary Glitter. There was what else? A Jim will fix it badge,
Wobble board.
a wobble board. Weird. Everybody cancel. What a time to have been alive pre-cancellation. But still pretty terrifying. What?
Other than those real life horrors, what have you got in the official horror news for us?
In the official horror news, I saw a couple of things today. One trailer that bloody dropped in it. The first thing I saw was a screenshot of somebody's legs, and first of all, I thought, God, those legs look sunburned. But no, it was like horror film makeup legs, like practical effects of someone's horrible old legs. So it's for Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities trailer. The Monsters Unleashed. Well, what? It just says Monsters are unleashed on Netflix. It's Halloween. So Guillermo del Toro has teamed up for a new anthology series, Cabinet of Curiosities, a collection of live action stories that Netflix says is meant to challenge our traditional notions of horror. What would you say your traditional notions of horror are, Andy?
Things that are scary.
Things that are scary, yeah. So what they're saying is it's not going to be scary.
Just have a lovely time.
From macabre to magical, gothic to grotesque, or classically creepy, the 8 sinister tales, including 2 original works by Del Toro, will be brought to life by a team of writers and directors personally chosen by the Shape of Water filmmaker. So
It sounds good. I'm looking forward to seeing this already. I would argue that all the adjectives they use there were all things I would traditionally associate with my current perceptions of horror, though. Creepy and curiosities and magical,
true.
all quite horror centric words.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they're not describing it as like, you won't be able to sleep after watching this. It's the scariest thing since, I don't know, add popular horror thing, A Quiet Place.
From the makers of X and Y, from
the producer. It wasn't really a producer. He just popped in for one day. From the producer of this movie, yeah. So apparently Friday, October the 28th, is when the entire collection of 8 stories will be available on Netflix. So Halloween, it's all going to be going down. All of the horror content is going to be available. And another thing, I don't know why I didn't mention this before, is Forbidden Worlds Film Festival in Bristol, where I reside, born and bred.
You'll be in attendance, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm going to be in attendance. Not sure in what capacity yet. Not sure if I'm going to be there for the whole event or just a couple of screenings. They've announced some of the films. I don't think they've announced all of them. However, Forbidden Worlds Film Festival, the big screen. So it's going to be on the Bristol IMAX Cinema from the 28th to the 30th of October. So yeah, big old screen, massive screen. How do you like your horror? On the biggest screen possible, please. So some of the films on the schedule are on the Friday, there's going to be Evil Dead 2. Do you know who's doing an intro for Evil Dead 2?
Who is it? Come on.
Alice Taylor Matthews.
Alice Taylor Matthews, friend of the show, Alice Taylor Matthews. I think we can say that.
Friend of the show, Alice Taylor Matthews. Yes. That'll be fun. I think if I'm going to go to just a few of these, that's probably going to be top of my list. Just because,
absolutely.
yeah. And other things being shown are like on the Saturday, Bride of Frankenstein, The Craft, the original Halloween, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, Slumber Party Massacre, Sunday, a little bit different, Boxer's Omen, which I've not seen, but I know Luke Condor has seen. Fright Night, and then a movie called Wolf Guy, which I've never seen. Some sort of werewolf film, I guess. Yeah, so you can get weekend passes, just day passes for like either day.
Is the weekend pass? I'm not sure if it's an early bird price or not, Ben. Maybe you haven't got the full spiel there, but isn't
early
it
bird
70 quid?
Early bird weekend passes have sold out, unfortunately.
Oh.
Well, fortunately.
Fortunately for them, unfortunately for you, the listener that may not yet have one.
But I think the full weekend pass is only a tiny little bit more expensive than the early bird price. So I think get yourself involved. Yeah, I think we'll do a little bit more promo for this coming up to it. We may not 100% locked in yet, but we may be able to get some of the organizers of the festival on the show, possibly for an interview. But I reckon around about that time we're gonna have to get Alice Taylor Matthews on for another episode.
I tell you what, I put it on the list for a while now. I'm meaning to watch Elvira. That might be a fun one to do.
Yeah.
Or Wolf Guy even. Come on.
Wolf Guy, yeah. I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna throw it out there now. If Alice is Alice, I keep full naming her. If Alice is doing the intro for Evil Dead 2 at this festival, why don't we get her in for Army of Darkness? Because we've done 1 and 2. I'm just gonna put it out there into your ears as well as the ears of the listeners, because we haven't locked it in. We definitely said about doing Ghost Watch for Halloween.
Yes.
With, I believe, John Crennan. Writing it down in your little
writing it down on my notepad. I'll turn this page over at some point, and this note will be lost. But this will help me commit it to memory.
Never turn the page over. Just leave it there open forever, or just write on your hand. Never wash it. Yeah. So that, and yeah, let's say Army of Darkness of Alice for October. Let's shape up that Halloween schedule, Halloween lineup.
It's looking solid already. What a solid month between Army of Darkness, Ghost Watch, Inevitable Halloween Ends.
Oh yeah,
October's looking.
I didn't even think of that
already.
I'd like it if that was the title. Inevitable Halloween Ends.
Inevitable Halloween Ends.
Evil I like the thought of adding the word inevitable to any horror sequel, you know, because it kind of gives it a bit of a a bit
of certainty about it, challenging everyone's concepts of horror.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's exciting. Sorry, jumping back from that back to Guillermo del Toro stuff, which we just mentioned. Yeah, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I think there was talk of an anthology, Guillermo del Toro anthology, for a while. Yeah. Didn't really hear much else of it, and then suddenly, bang, trailer.
Boom, getting out there. Oh, we're living in a world of infinite and very good content, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, and it looks like Guillermo del Toro is going to serve as like a host, possibly, as well, for each episode.
He's doing a bit of crypt keeping.
Doing a bit of crypt keeping, doing a bit of summit. There we go.
See what,
and some of the stars include Rupert Grint. I thought it said H.P. Lovecraft then. I was like, he's been dead a long time. Ishmael Cruz Cordova, DJ Qualls. Don't know if he or she is a certified DJ. Have no idea. Nia Vardalos, Tanika Davis. Yeah, so pretty tasty. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Nice. I was going to say, you know what? No, it's not. It's highly irregular, but I brought a bit of news along this week.
Highly irregular, not always recommended, and not integral to the part, but I'm grateful.
I brought along some news. I know, Ben, that you are a man that likes a nice bit of survival horror gaming. You'll never guess who's had a reboot announced.
This is actually what I've got next on the list. So me and you are, as always, on a similar wavelength.
There you go. Alone in the Dark, back again.
Yeah.
Any experience with the old ones?
Yeah. So I've played the really old ones, but not at the time they came out. I went back to them because it was like, oh, this is the birth of survival horror, and I think I had them on Steam. Don't think I finished either of the. How many are there on PC? Maybe just like
3, maybe.
Yeah. And then there was one that came out like what, 2010-ish,
like PS3, Xbox 360 era, and it's like It has DVD chapters, doesn't it? Like a story that you can
Does it?
skip to. Yeah.
I honestly don't remember. So, but
Apparently not
you
so
played it,
good.
not so good.
Not so good.
Mm.
But I've always had an interest in Alone in the Dark. Like there's nothing. I think my cousin used to play it a little bit when I was younger. I didn't really get what it was. I feel like I may have encountered it just tangentially like that. But
Mm.
I'll give this a go. See how it starts shaping up.
I think it was one of those where I was like, because I was a big fan of, Resident Evil and Silent Hill and pretty much anything survival horror. It was one of those which I thought, yeah, let's give this a go. And then I wasn't quite into it. And then it felt like the same sort of vein as Alan Wake. And then obviously I didn't pick up Alan Wake until the remake of that
Mm-hmm.
remaster, whatever it was. Yeah, so I'll be interested. Apparently, Mikhail Hedberg is writing it, and he wrote Soma and Amnesia: The Dark Descent.
Oh, in that case, I am immediately into. I'm not fully aware of all the story of Amnesia, but
Hmm.
Soma, I think, is probably one of my favorite video game narrative experiences.
Yeah,
It
I
was
think I'll
really,
agree with you there.
really, really good. I did see that this news has poured yet more fuel on the fire. I saw a lovely picture of,
Yeah,
like, a picture of
I think I shared it. Yeah,
Resident Evil remakes, and Resident Evil 4 remake, and Alone in the Dark's coming back, and Alan Wake 2, and then they're just like Silent Hill sitting there, very sad.
yeah. Oh, it's a shame, isn't it? But then I saw another image which said survival horror fans in 2023 are going to be eating good. Dead Space remake, Resident Evil 4, Alone in the Dark remake, Alan Wake 2. You know,
Horror games for
horror
everybody.
games, man. Horror games. I mean, in terms of like the plot of Alone in the Dark, this one, so it says encounter strange residents, nightmarish realms, dangerous monsters, and ultimately unveil a plot of rising evil. So, very Alan Wake. But probably maybe a little bit more of a focus on horror. Although I think didn't the makers of Alan Wake 2 say this one's gonna be more horror?
Yeah, they said, like, didn't they say Alan
The other
Wake
one was
1
a
is a
laugh.
thriller? This is a
Yeah,
horror game.
pretty scary. There we go. That
Oh,
is interesting. It's being made by THQ, who've got
okay.
like quite a big slate of games coming up. So, okay, what else? What else have we got? Oh, there's a new movie out this week called Day Shift. Don't know if we've mentioned it previously in horror news. Maybe it was going to come out, but it's out now. It's on Netflix. So it's Jamie Foxx as a vampire hunter, and I think it's sort of like a sort of comedy horror. But I've seen fairly middling reviews, but it hasn't been getting panned, so it's probably worth a watch. Snoop Dogg's in it as well.
Netflix tells me that it's number one film in the UK today.
Oh, wow. There we go. Uh yeah, check it out. I'll probably check it out this week, I think.
Yeah.
Even though we've got never-ending piles of content to work through.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, because that's heavily influencing. Unless you've got any more news, Ben, we can come on to what we're watching.
Literally the only other piece of news I had is that there's gonna be all over the horror movie documentaries recently. Apparently there's gonna be a Chucky documentary, Child's Play documentary, sorry. Living with Chucky. It's inching closer to release. That's his story. Essential look at the impact and longevity of the Child's Play series. And interviews with pretty much anyone who's anyone. Anyone who's anyone. Everyone who's shut up. You know what I mean.
Yeah, all the
And
people.
it's got a poster as well. So when it's got a poster, it's legit. It's happening.
You don't just
Um,
post until it's almost finished.
yeah, exactly. So that might be a reason for me to go and complete the Chucky series. I know you did a watch of all of them.
I did all of them and then the series. I am totally up
Yeah.
to date, ready for Chucky season 2. First
Yeah.
season was just really good. Really good.
Hmm. Yeah, so that is it from me for horror news. Did you have something else to say just then?
No, nothing on news. I was just going to say I'm going to have a fairly limited what we've been watching this week because I know that in all of our spare moments, it's all Fright Fest content, right? Making sure we've
Yeah. So we
caught it all.
can't talk about Fright Fest stuff until our episode at the end of the month. We're going to be having some bonus episodes as well where we talk to some filmmakers. So keep an eye out for that in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. So in terms of what we've been watching, then, is there anything that you can talk about?
No, because I think I already mentioned the start of the Sandman. I've only done the first episode of that. I guess because we have a tangent off to general cinema. MCU tends to feature quite a lot just because the volume of stuff they put out. I
Yep.
managed to find the 25 minutes spare to watch all of the I Am Groot shorts.
Oh yeah.
They're 5 minutes each. There's a ghouly alien in one of them. That's a bit horror centric, I guess. But it was
A
good.
ghouly alien.
Yeah,
I've seen a clip of a
spooky one.
dance off.
That's the one.
Is that the one? A
It is
ghouly alien.
a bit spooky, but then it's alright. He likes dancing. Spoilers for I Am Groot, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a nice little bit of fun, isn't it? Oh, but that was what I've been watching. Tell you what, Ben, again, little sideline. It's Edinburgh Fringe right now, so I've been off looking at some comedy. No horror related comedy, but I saw some very funny comedians. I saw Daniel Walker, an Australian comedian who was excellent, made me kind of a little bit nostalgic for. She probably did it on purpose. The show's called Nostalgia. Nostalgic for memories of your own family and so on. It's like a really nice, very funny little set. And then I saw Grace Campbell, who was incredibly funny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, really, really good. I'd never seen her on anything until recently. I don't know how it passed me by. She was very, very funny. Yeah, yeah. Saw some of the shows as well. It's been good. I'm going to try and go back next week if I'm not buried under an absolute
be
tidal wave of
nice.
horror content.
Yeah, it must be nice to be within, I don't want to say a stone's throw, but to be nice and close to be able to get yourself up there, down there, up there, down there.
Down from here. Yeah.
It's bloody down, isn't it? Yeah. Sweet.
How about you? Have you been watching anything, or are you also just working your way through the content?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of things. So I again keeping on the horror documentaries train, but this one was something I've been meaning to get around to for a long time. So In Search of Darkness is a documentary about just iconic 80s horror. And it's sprawling, it's extensive, it bounces from film to film to film. One thing I noticed is that we've covered loads of these films on this podcast, like pretty much all of them that were included. I'd say like a good 75% of the films that were discussed, which made me think we've done a good cross section of like an entire decade, which is pretty impressive. And probably the 80s is the decade that we've probably watched.
Yeah, I've not updated the spreadsheet in a little while, but I imagine the 80s was probably
far and
up
away.
there.
Yeah.
I think just because of how big horror was in that decade, probably influenced by the age we are, myself especially as well, for just an era that I've got a real fondness for the movies because they're things that were on TV when I was growing up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that this is a hugely sort of nostalgic look at all these things, and again, stars, directors, just general horror fans, horror, famous horror fans as well. So it's got like a really good cross section of people talking about the movies. I mean, it's long, it's several hours long. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. But something I've been meaning to get around to for a long time, and I'm glad I did. And there is a part 2, and I think there's a part 3 this slated to come out possibly this year, maybe the next. So a review I read was like, I could watch this all day. Like if this was 24 hours long, I'd stick it on and watch it. And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. And there were a few things that I've never seen before, which I've quickly added to a list of films that I'm gonna have to watch, and B, we should probably cover on this podcast. So.
That's so good though. I love things like that. I'm reading. I think you have the same book, and I apologize. I'm blanking on the name now. It's a reviewer's name, and it's their video dungeon, and it's a collection of all of their movie reviews. I got it from Bristol's very own £3 bookshop. If you guys are in the Bristol area, between getting your Forbidden Worlds Screamfest tickets, you find yourselves in Bristol, you get yourself up that hill, and you go to the £3 bookshop, because any book that you could possibly want there, never guess how much it is.
God,
it's £3.
Some of them are cheaper than that.
You pay no more than £3.
Also, if a stone's throw away from there is 20th Century Flicks as well.
Yeah, go and rent some videos, read about some films.
That's a good day out right there. That's what I'm going to do in October. I'm going to go, right, that's it. Forbidden Worlds, between films, get yourself to a £3 bookshop, get yourself to 20th Century Flicks. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the kind of book I like reading because then you get the opportunity really to fill up that watch list. And I'll be reading one of these reviews,
Oh
or I
yeah.
imagine you watching this documentary. I'm going to get on and watch it because then it'll be like, right, no, pause, get Letterboxd out, put that on the watch list.
That's pretty much what it was.
I
Yeah.
saw the designer of the Screamfest poster, Jim will Paint It, was having some discussion on Twitter the other day about what sounded like an excellent 80s horror movie that had like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers vibe to it, except it was people being turned into robots. And I saw this discourse was going on, and it was like, oh, it might be called Annihilator. And just based on the interactions that him and the people that were following him were trying to work out what the title of this film was,
Yeah.
I was absolutely sold. By the time I saw it, it had been established that that's what the name of the film was, and I was like, right, that is going straight on the watch list. That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
I was like, that it feels like it's going to
Ever
have the
growing
same
watch list.
same the same fear factor as that inexplicable horror bit from the end of Superman 3.
Mm. When you said robots, then I thought chopping more. We've got to do chopping more.
We've got to do Chopping More, one of my favorites. Oh, the content is endless. Don't worry, guys. Your friends here at Horror Hangout have got
Don't worry, guys. I
episodes for
think
years.
the point we're trying to make here is that we're not running out of films to watch. Far from it. Quite the opposite. Okay, and the only other thing that I've really watched this week is the 1999 version of The Haunting. So, of The Haunting of Hill House, but The Haunting, with Liam Neeson, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Owen Wilson, Lily Taylor. That one. I mean, I don't remember particularly liking this film anyway. I was trying to find some sort of films that were right for me and my daughter, 12-year-old daughter, to watch. It wouldn't, give her too many scares and this is like a rated 12 or like PG-13. So I watched it, but I fell asleep, and I haven't fallen asleep during a film for a long time. I'm dead against it.
Lovely restful dreams. Not even
I'm
night.
Oh bloody hell! These ghosts are they're so not scary that I feel more comfortable than ever. CGI hasn't done this film any favors really. It's very shiny. It's very PS2 era cutscene
See,
CGI.
I remember it coming out at the same time as The House on Haunted
Yeah,
Hill, which is very early 2000s new metal, stand very still, but then shake your head around in fast speed film.
This film isn't scary at all, and it just goes through the motions of someone in the house is being affected by the ghosties. Everyone else is like, I'm fine. Someone's being affected, and it just goes on. I was thinking Liam Neeson in this is so wooden, and I quite like Liam Neeson. He's so wooden. But 1999 was the year he played Qui-Gon Jinn as well, so maybe he put all of his
Acting into that.
acting into that, and he didn't have anything left over for the Haunting, or maybe it's the other way around. Who knows? It is Qui-Gon Jinn, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Qui-Gon Jinn. If he just chopped Watto in half and taken Anakin and his mum, he'd have been all right.
He would have been absolutely fine. So yeah, I think I did go back and watch the ending of The Haunting after I fell asleep, and I was just like, it's just dead boring. I remember there's a couple of moments of potential, like, oh no, like that you kind of remember, but apart from that, it's not that great at all. I mean, if perfect example, if you are looking for a film that sort of era, people stuck in a house that's haunted, House on Haunted Hill will sort you right out. It just feels like that. It feels like it's that sort of film, but like with all of the gore and all of the actual horror stripped out,
slurped away,
sucked dry, and it's all you've got left is people kind of screaming at
just the
CGI.
Catherine Zeta-Jones shaped husk left.
Yeah, and they got loads of that. When there's like, oh, there's a ghost in a curtain. There's a curtain flowing, and there's a ghost's face in it. It's too much of that. In a curtain, under a duvet.
Just fabric-based ghosts.
Fabric ghosts, yeah.
Like those ghoulies from the Lenore adverts that are made of cloth. Imagine a horror film with them, and there are like moths.
Oh, moths just tearing holes in them.
Just chasing them like Langoliers, I guess.
Oh,
consuming everything in their fabric-based world.
Wow, get it pitched. Get it pitched to Netflix. Maybe that'll be the next #1 movie. And apart from that, is movie of the week.
Yeah, movie of the week. Nope.
Movie of the week.
To this.
we were looking forward to it. We did a trailer reaction for it. And I think what I've definitely decided is that a Jordan Peele movie release is now an event. You know, obviously Get Out was like, okay, let's see what this is about. Us is like, it's the follow up. You know, if it's all right, then we've got a winner on our hands. And now Jordan Peele movies being released are like events. It's, you know,
And I think what you can now definitely rely on is that Jordan Peele movies, even though he's, beginning to, not universally, there's plenty of new faces in every one of his films, but even though with some common collaborators that you see returning, you'll get a very different movie with everything they do, everything they put out.
yeah. And one thing I think I've also definitely realized now is that a Jordan Peele movie has a very distinct style, look, and flavor. There's like something about the dialogue, something about these weird cuts and weird little inclusions, thematic like inclusions that feel really weird, and you kind of go like, what's this about? What's all that about? That's strange. Yeah, I mean, quirky seems like a really like lame word to use to describe it, but it is like quirky. It doesn't play into any modern horror tropes at all.
No,
It's got like even like when there's a jump scare, even though there's like a traditional what feels like a traditional jump scare, it still feels different. It still feels, I feel like even if I hadn't seen this and you watch like a couple of minutes of a Jordan Peele movie, I think it's pretty easy to know what sort of directorial trademarks he's got going on.
definitely beginning to get a really recognizable style about him beyond the choice of actors and the application of music, a nice visual language that he's very comfortable in delivering. I
Yeah.
guess the main thing to say, before we go into details, before we do the lovely intro and everything like that, then we'll say here right at the top, if you're new to the show, Nope is a new movie. We will discuss it in detail. There'll be spoilers. We'll go through it and discuss elements on it fairly chronologically. So if you haven't seen Nope yet and you intend to, and slight spoiler for our opinion, I think you should. I think it's pretty good. Um, yeah, go and do that first, unless you're one of those people that doesn't care about spoilers and it doesn't affect your enjoyment at all. Because
Yeah.
we will touch on everything that happens as we go
We'll
through
touch
it.
on everything, and I guess it's one of these films where we need to try and work out what our interpretation of certain things is as well, because it's not as straightforward as that. My background, if you're watching the video, could potentially be considered a spoiler. However, I only decided to include it because it's in the trailers.
I've
Maybe
heard
not,
that the last trailer goes a bit far.
maybe not the first trailer, but it's in quite a lot of the trailers. Yeah, I don't know how, but obviously this came out in the US maybe 3 weeks ago, and we only just got it in the UK. So I don't know how, but I managed to avoid pretty much all spoilers, I think, and I'm not entirely sure how. I saw a couple of things that I thought were minor spoilers, but after watching the movie, I was like, well, it's not really a spoiler. It's just something that's in the film, and it's not key to
Yeah, the
plot.
the thing that was spoiled for me, one last warning if you're not here for spoilers, was Akira slide.
Yeah, I did see that. I think Akira Slide is in like a TV spot or something. So I think that's what I saw it in. And the only other thing I saw was what's his name? What's the monkey's name?
Gordy.
Gordy, yeah. The only thing I saw, I started seeing some artwork based on Gordy, so I was like, okay. And then I kind of realized there was a certain thing in the trailer where we weren't sure what it was. It looked like a fist bump, if you remember, a little hand.
Yes, looks like an alien hand,
And
doesn't
we
it?
were like, what the hell is that? Is that an alien hand? Turns out it's Gordy, but still, we'll explain. We'll get into it. So first, I will just tell you a bit about the film. So, Nope is a 2022 American science fiction horror film written, directed, and produced by Jordan Peele under the Monkeypaw Productions banner, starring Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, Stephen Yeun, Michael Wincott, and Brandon Perea. It follows two ranch-owning siblings who attempt to capture evidence of an unidentified flying object, a UFO, or UEA. What did he say?
Oh, they do say that there's an
UAE, something like that.
alternative now.
Yeah, maybe we'll get into that. So here's one interesting little thing I just wanted to mention as well before this is apparently the title was rumored initially to be an acronym for Not of Planet Earth or Not Our Planet Earth, based on the movie poster. But Peele later revealed that the title refers just to the reaction he hoped to elicit from the audiences. And I think that's kind of what everybody kind of thought initially, wasn't it? It's quite a common thing that we kind of, it's probably been used in horror movies as based on certain characters. It kind of reminds, it's got that meta narrative thing that kind of reminded me of like Scream or something, you know. There's bound to be a scene in Scream or a similar slasher where someone's just looked somewhere and gone, nope.
Yeah,
See you later.
it gives me big scary movie vibes where the
Yeah.
characters like that are a little bit more in the business of commenting on, like, I guess the production of horror, but nope, not going down that spooky staircase.
Yeah, exactly. But this is I'll go into a couple of choice reviews in a second, but I just wanted to say that this feels like a really sort of, how can I, it's got like a bit of an Amblin / Spielberg vibe to it
I
going
was
on.
thinking exactly the same.
Think
It
that?
gave me big Super 8 energy.
Big Super 8 energy, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and even, and I've already seen this, it was kind of like a thought I had, but I didn't quite manage to flesh out the thought until I started reading things about the movie after I'd seen it. A bit of Jaws going on. And I think the main reason there's a bit of Jaws going on is the soundtrack. There's this soundtrack which feels very John Williams, and it's got like, not so much in terms of like the Jaws main theme, like the sort of not so much that, but just like the that sort of stuff. Nailed it. But you know, that sort of like, it's a weird kind of like playful, almost like, obviously you get a lot of it in John Williams with like Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park as well, where it's like tension, something terrible is going to happen, but it's playful and we're a little bit like, it's a bit of an adventure, but also scary.
Yeah, you're right. Big Jaws energy in this, and with the people that they get involved as well, like as the crew comes together. Yeah, there's a big Jaws thing. The other thing that really got me thinking about this film was Jordan Peele has obviously reached a point in his career where it feels like, and maybe if you read behind the scenes stuff, it isn't true, but this feels like a film where the wider network of producers and studio execs and so on know this is a creator who knows what he is doing. And I didn't feel the hand of much studio interference in this one. It felt like he told the story that he wanted to tell. I think a more traditional corporate audience might have wanted to tweak this, that, or the other.
Yeah, and I guess it feels bigger budget as well, where like Get Out was like obviously very well made, but maybe felt a little bit like
saving their money. Most of the actors are in it twice. Blooming hell. What a saving.
Wait, that's us. That's us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry, that's us. I was working backwards.
You're working backwards. But still, the point you just made about us totally makes sense. Yeah. Some of the actors. Well, can you play this character as well? I don't know.
Can you do your character, but if they were a baddie? Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that, I reckon. But yeah, so it just feels like a lot more money has been thrown at this, and that's maybe why it feels so much more like, I don't want to say, it doesn't feel like high budget, but at the same time, there's something about it. It's got like a gloss to it that makes it feel like this. And I've already said
right.
It feels like an event film, but it also feels like it doesn't feel like a straight up horror. You could consider it a adventure film, science fiction, because
it's like a science fiction thriller.
Science
and
fiction
you're right,
thriller,
it's
yeah.
like one of these things it's largely set in like a ranch in the middle of nowhere, in a location you'd imagine is open for miles in all directions and land is still plentiful. Yet it feels like the most expensive and well crafted ranch in the middle of nowhere that has ever existed. Perfect, designed to every detail.
Yeah. And moving on from that, it's doing well in terms of being rated by critics and audiences. So we've got 7.4 on IMDb, 4.0 on Letterboxd, 82% critic score, 68% audience score. So I guess a little bit less because maybe some people were thinking more of a traditional horror, maybe more of a traditional alien invasion-esque film. You know, there are certain things they would expect, and it's a bit.
It'll be interesting to see how that settles now it's been launched internationally. Is it I assume if it's been in the US ahead of us, I
Yeah,
take it was pretty much in North America until this weekend, and then this week it's seen
I
Europe
think
and the
so.
rest of the
Yeah.
world. I'd be interested to see which direction that goes now it's a broader audience.
Yeah. Okay. We've got some choice reviews. So 24 Frames of Nick has rated it 4.5 stars, and he says, "Giant gaping butthole in the sky eats Californians." Nice, pretty much. Holly Amanda, she says, "The feeling when you're so hungry you could eat a horse." 4 stars.
Very good.
James says, "It's if it's so hard to get footage of this thing, then how did the cameraman of the movie get footage of it so often?" 4 stars. Uh, Morgan, 3.5 stars, says, "What would you do if an alien took a huge dump on your house? What would you do?" Yeah, so that's that. It looks like, obviously it's got a score of 4.0 on Letterboxd as well. Looks like people are kind of into it. I've seen a lot of people sort of rating the Jordan Peele, not an official trilogy, obviously, but the 3 movies so far. And a lot of people are saying this is the best one. So I don't know how I feel about that yet.
I don't know. I feel like there might be a tiny bit of recency bias to that. Like this is the one I've seen recently. I remember coming out of Ang Lee's Incredible Hulk going, "Blooming hell,
Oh
best
yeah.
superhero movie I've ever seen!" Yeah, I wanted to like punch cars into little cubes.
Did you see a poodle walking down the street and you went, "Come here"?
Put on some Hulk cans and just yeah.
Smushed
Um,
him to death.
yeah, I think there might be a little bit of recency bias behind that, and that's not to take anything away from this film. But I also think that of all, well, certainly amongst creators' first 3 films, this is quite a difficult one to separate them out because they're all tonally very different.
Yeah, they are totally very different. I think at the moment though, and I'm just looking at like how I've rated these films before, I think they're all equally as good, but for different reasons. Like I feel like I'm rating them all fairly. Like if I'm thinking in my head, which movie of these 3 would I want to watch again, like tomorrow? Well, I think I'd take any of them. I feel like, what are we sticking on? Nope, we're sticking on Us. We're sticking on Get Out. I'll take them all.
Watch them all.
But again, the fact that they're tonally very different is very interesting, especially considering that Get Out was like a social commentary, had a lot of sort of stuff to say about race. It's not like Jordan Peele sort of taken that his successful movie, which I think was recognized by the Academy as well. Did it not? Did it get a nomination for something? Maybe like a screenplay nomination?
Um, Get Out. I think that was the one that kicked off the whole elevated horror. Where
Elevated horror stuff,
yeah,
yeah.
you can't nominate genre pieces for awards because God forbid a horror film just be good.
But what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
even though this film's got some social commentary, yes, Us has got some social commentary, yes. It's not like he's gone. This film is successful. That's my bag. This is
He
the
hasn't
horror.
he
This is the
hasn't
horror
said like
niche.
that I am a social commentary filmmaker. There's
Yeah,
definitely
social
still the
commentary,
genre
race
element about it.
relations, horror. Which of course, like I'm sure if he included elements like that in this movie and Us, then I would. I'm sure he would do it very well. But I'm just saying it's kind of good that he's still decided to continue to take those risks and make things that are kind of just like unconventional, a bit nuts, a bit out there, a
Yeah.
bit like just a bit odd as well, like in terms of the actual content of what the movie is about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of actual content, where do we begin this time?
Oh well, I guess I'll quickly just mention the cast. So we got Daniel Kaluuya, who returns as. Did he win an Oscar? Did he win an Oscar for Judas and the Black Messiah?
He did win one, I think, for that. I'll have to have a look.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look. Yeah, so obviously he's back. We're working with Jordan Peele after Get Out. He is Otis Jr., OJ Haywood. Keke Palmer is Emerald Haywood. Stephen Yeun is Ricky Jupe Park, who's a former child actor, owner, creator of a theme park, which is really close by to the ranch where these guys live. Oh, obviously the Haywoods are horse trainers for Hollywood as well. We got to mention. Brandon Perea is Angel Torres, who's like a tech salesman. Great character. Thought he was really good.
He was funny.
Michael Wincott is Antlers Holst, who's like a cinematographer. And then Keith David is also involved. Otis Hayward Sr. He's
Yeah.
the father of OJ and M.
Just before we move on from cast, Ben, I can confirm your awards knowledge was absolutely on point, and Daniel Kaluuya did win his Oscar that he has so far for Best Supporting Actor
Supporting
in
actor, yeah, because I think
Jesus and Black Messiah.
him and Lakeith Stanfield got nominated for Best Supporting Actor in that movie, I believe, even though I guess they were kind of both leads. Yeah. So obviously off the back of that, it's great to sort of see him involved. Stephen Yeun, I think, since The Walking Dead, has had a few roles that have sort of elevated his stature, especially in terms of genre filmmaking. Is it a film called Burning? I think I saw that he was in, which I think did quite. What was that film called as well? With the, just trying to think of. There was a film where it was almost like a violent sort of. I can't think of what it is, but I think he's in Sorry to Bother You as well. Mayhem, that's it. That's exactly what I'm thinking of.
Mayhem. Okay.
Mayhem. It's like an action comedy film, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, good to see him still excelling with the roles he's in as well. Keke Palmer, obviously like an up and coming. She was in the Scream series from 2019. She's been in several movies. I think wasn't she like a Nickelodeon star as well at some point?
Most of them are, aren't they? That's where they come from.
Yeah, but
Young
she gets
actors.
to do an Akira slide, which not many people get to do in their lives, let alone in a major.
What a moment.
What a moment. Yeah. So this film opens with there is a Bible quote, a Bible verse on the screen first, which is Nahum 3:6, and it says, "I will cast abominable filth on you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle." Sounds horrible, really, isn't it? What's your favorite bit of the Bible? This bit. I mean, it's all full of pretty horrible stuff, but this bit, I'm gonna make you a spectacle. Cast abominable filth on you. So yeah, some of the themes are probably open to interpretation, and we will get to them. But there is when it opens in 1998, and it goes back to this a few times. We don't get the full story in the first scene.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a voiceover which sounds like a crew talking to a sitcom cast, getting them ready to film an episode where a particular person, it's their birthday. I don't think we 100% know exactly what's happening, but then we do get a little bit of a shot where carnage has erupted on this sitcom soundstage. There's blood, there's bodies everywhere, and then a blood-soaked chimpanzee in a yellow jumper and dungarees. He got dungarees on.
He's definitely got a full outfit on. He's definitely got a yellow jumper on.
He's got a birthday
hat on, and he's
this was creepy, mind, because the way this shot ends did get me. Like I was a bit like, there's something about it in horror, a shot of something unexpectedly breaking the fourth wall, looking directly at you, or if it's a POV shot or something like that. Something about it that really puts the willies up me, for lack of a better description.
And I tell you what, of all the things that you wouldn't want looking at you, bloody blood-soaked chimp.
Where's everybody gone as well? Has everybody just ran away?
I guess you do one, wouldn't you? If there is a Gordy going absolutely berserk.
Yeah. So we don't know what's at this point. We don't know what set him off, but later on we find out.
Yeah. Hey, like chimpanzees, lovely creatures. I prefer them to be in the jungle though, where they live, and they're not eating my face.
Yeah. I think after that story of the chimpanzee ripping that woman's face off, it's become part of my constant psyche. You know, when no matter what somebody says, if somebody mentions a chimpanzee, it's the first thing you think of.
They'd have my face and bits off before you could say Jack Robinson.
Jack Robinson. Yeah, so obviously the chimpanzee stares straight down the barrel of the gun, straight down the camera.
Not a professional actor at all. Look at him, looking right down the camera. You'll never make it in this business, mate. Bloody Gordy.
And then it cuts to title, but I don't know, something about that shot really did get me. It reminded me a bit of, do you remember the shot in 28 Days Later when old Cillian Murphy walks into the church and he just sees piles of bodies everywhere, and he shouts down to the priest, goes, "Oi!" And he shouts, "Hello!" And a horrible not possessed, but a horrible infected priest just turns and looks. Well, there's more than one who turns and looks. Isn't there?
Yeah,
There's a
they all
priest.
just look up at him.
It's horrible, man. Oh,
Yeah,
it
horrible.
is horrible.
I tell you what, though, again, this goes to show I would take all of those horrible infected blokes having a look at you than just one of those chimps.
Infected monkeys in bloody 28 days later as well at the start. Calls everything. So yeah, we come back to this in a bit. It cuts to title and it's in present day, and we're introduced to Otis Jr. and Otis Sr., Daniel Kaluuya and Keith David.
The man himself, Keith David.
Yeah.
My only sadness here is that you don't see more of him in this. I mean, it's a good introduction. He's a great character for the short time he's in there, and obviously he's here for a good time, not for a long
great
time.
that someone from horror royalty, essentially, someone who's been in so many of the best horror movies out there, is in this film, even as a small role. I think it just shows the knowledge and the respect for the genre that Jordan Peele has. Because you could cast anybody, but I imagine. I mean, I'm just guessing, but I can imagine him just looking out and going, right, let's get Keith David.
Let's get Keith David, the absolute boss of such. You could rattle off the great movies that Keith David is in, and you would be out of breath long before you finished.
I'm upset that him and Daniel Kaluuya don't have a punch up like he did in They Live.
Yeah, I want him to
Roddy Piper.
Beat the shit out of him, throw some sunglasses on his chest, and go, "Fuck you!"
Literally, I mean, gotta be the best fight sequence, ever.
Best fight sequence ever on film.
They talk about that in Search of Darkness, the documentary I mentioned. They talk about how long they practiced it for, and initially it was supposed to be I don't know, a couple of punches thrown, but after they worked out this whole sequence, John Carpenter was like, just do it all. Do it all.
What a movie. Sometimes I watch just that scene.
Oh yeah. Okay, so obviously they train and handle horses, and I think they're talking at this point about taking the horses to some sort of shoot, where I think they say, oh, if we do well, they'll ask us back for the sequel. And as Daniel Kaluuya's character walks back towards the house of the ranch, is there some sort of rumble in the sky or some sort of something going on?
There's a bit of a wobble to the sky, and something goes on, and then poor old Keith David, turn you back for just a second, the horse is kind of walking out of the paddock and he falls off, and he's had a penny in the eye.
Yeah, well, obviously things start falling from the sky, loads of things just start hitting on the ground, and you don't really know what it is, whether it's I don't know, weather, what's it called, like a hailstorm or something. It's just loads of things, and then we see there's a key jammed in the arse
of the horse. That's not how you start
them. Come on, come on, be a good boy.
You just get on them. They do it themselves. They're pushed to start.
Where do I put the petrol then? Lift that tail up. Come on. Yeah. So the horse gets a key in the ass, and Keith David gets a quarter in the eye, and Daniel Kaluuya runs over and he's driving him to hospital, and he's trying to keep him awake by saying, I don't know, getting to remember things, and he's trying to
say the names of the horses, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. Say the names of the horses. But unfortunately, quarter through the eye, no matter how many horses you name, that's going to do you in.
A certain amount of time, you'll just start saying the words that are on the quarter. I don't know what words are written on American
in through his eye, or in through the back of his head.
In through his eye, I think.
What was he doing it? Because he looked almost like he was hunched over like that. So
I guess they were limiting the visible to getting probably looking up to what happens. But yeah, he's had a quarter for the eye. The problem is, as well as this, using the name of horses to keep him cognizant and keep him, compos mentis and going through there. Names of horses probably nonsense sometimes, especially if you think of race horses. You think, are you saying the names of horses, or have you got a brain injury? Because then you're like blue velvet, red rum, never on a Sunday. What? No,
helping, mate. Yeah, well, the horses in this, what are they called? Ghost, Clover, Lucky, and there's Jean Jacket who's talked about, and that's obviously more significant as we go on. But yeah, obviously
Jean
Oh, Keith,
jacket, Bananarama,
jean jacket, banana rama,
teabag.
waistcoat, Eric Cantona. uh, yeah. So unfortunately, Keith David does
Yeah,
pass away.
we do lose him at this
We
point.
do lose him, but Otis Junior, sorry, gains a quarter. He's given the quarter that killed his dad, in a little plastic baggie.
That make me feel any better, you know.
No. So Otis Jr. and Emerald, they inherit the ranch. And then the next scene is OJ trying to keep the business afloat. Essentially, he's at another film shoot, or is it an advert shoot?
It's an advert shoot, but before
Yeah.
he mentions his name's OJ to when he introduces himself, and it's how it stands for Otis Junior.
Yeah.
Do you think that if you're the junior, when your dad passes away, do you have to keep junior, or should it? Do you
It's a good
absorb his
question.
power like the Highlander?
You just drop down to your knees and just slowly go. Slowly
And then
grow a goatee.
oh,
OJ's like strong silent type pretty much, isn't he? I mean, sure he talks, but he seems like he's the kind of person who's like, I don't know,
he
over
does
it.
he's doing the work. He's doing like he's an expert in doing what he does. He seems to enjoy the work he's always done with his dad with the horses,
Mm.
but he isn't so fond of what they've been doing. The Hollywood side, the show, the
Yeah.
business side of things, the
Business side and like the people he's kind of like got to mix with and have a certain yeah, he's kind of like over it. All of the sort of
the old razzle dazzle.
all the old razzle dazzle that goes alongside Hollywood and dealing with all these directors and anybody essentially, the stars. And of course M does the kind of like show side of it, because at one point he has to do a safety briefing and he starts doing it, but luckily M turns up late, ever so tardy, as I think she says.
Says apologies for the tardiness.
Apologies for the tardiness. And she does the big sort of bombastic presentation. She's happy to be in the spotlight.
And it's kind of the intro to the whole thing, and she begins with, and to be fair, I haven't had time to look into how closely this mirrors reality. I guess there's no reason to make this up, but she points out that what is the first ever visible like motion picture that was made, and it is a short plate of a black man riding on a horse. And she points out that their family is related to that man who was simultaneously the first movie star, the first person that made this film possible, and the first stuntman, all in one. And no one really knew it. No one else would really be able to name him, but he is related to them. It's their family.
So they say since the start of motion pictures, they've had skin in the game, is what she says, which I think gets a laugh from one person, maybe the director. I'm not sure. Yeah, and then obviously she does also kind of like promote herself at the end of this as well. She says that she's an actress, motorcyclist.
She's right.
The other things,
basically all the jobs.
And I think OJ's a little bit, his nose is a bit out of joint because of that. He's a bit like, oh come on, bloody hell. I mean, yeah, he's straight up. When loads of professional people might be like, I'm great at this, but I don't like doing the communication side of things, the promotion side of things, all of the crap that might go alongside my job that I enjoy. So in a way, these two are kind of perfect in a way, but I think M's got this little bit of
and then she's away, like he then would like her to help with the actual job, but she's off networking. So
yeah, she walks it. I mean, even I was getting frustrated in this moment because I kind of felt like, oh, I know how that feels when you're like kind of you want the support from somebody in this particular moment, because he's telling people on set not to get too close to the horse, not to touch the horse and stuff like that. And it's not his.
Don't look at him in the eyes. They don't like it apparently.
Yeah, and then obviously someone uses a reflective. What is that thing?
They checking the light levels. That they just
I don't know really. Right by the horse, and the horse kicks out, and what does he do? Just knock. He doesn't hit somebody, does he? He just knocks something out of somebody's hands.
Yeah, he just knocks like powder everywhere.
And it's annoying because then they lose the job, and I'm a bit like, hang on a minute, it's not anyone's fault, but the people who were like swarming the horse. So
Yeah.
A little bit frustrating.
I feel like I don't know. Maybe it's very different when you're in Hollywood. I'm not a Hollywood commercial person, Ben. But I feel like I've not been around horses never. I'm around horses enough that if I see a horse, I would be like, oh, cool, I've never seen one of those.
Yeah,
But I still feel, even with that level of familiarity, I'm
yeah,
always quite cautious when there's a horse about because I feel like they're big animals that could kick me hard enough to stop my heart.
yeah. They'll just kick you right in the right in the face.
Yeah.
Or kick you hard enough to stop your heart. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
kick you hard enough to stop your heart or like kick your entire face off. Like horses are big, quite scary animals, which I think famously people know can be scared by like loud noise and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You did. This is apparently this is 6 months after Otis Senior died as well. So
Yeah.
um obviously it's not long since that happened, and I think even one of the directors on the or one of the directors, producers, or somebody says like, "What happened to the old man?" or something. He says he died, and
He
they're like, "Oh
died
damn."
died in an accident.
Obviously they were comfortable with him, and now it's the son taking the reins of the business. They're probably a little bit unsure. Yeah, and they fire them, which is it's annoying.
It's the director that I think talks to them, and he is quite nice. But he says, "Look, it's just this one. Don't worry. There'll be
Yeah,
other things are gonna come up. Don't."
yeah, because
Yeah,
obviously they've got a lot of horses, but because of the financial woes, OJ has been selling his horses to somebody, and that's where we go next. So they drive to someone called Jupe, at a place called Jupiter's Claim, which is like a small Western theme park, and it's run by Jupe, who is played by Stephen Yeun, so Ricky Park, but his nickname's Jupe. And we find out that they've got like a TV show, and he's a former child actor.
he used to
Uh,
be in like a little kid cowboy program, right? Which is, I guess, why he has a
yeah, why he's gone all in on a Western themed, uh, on a Western theme park. So yeah, basically OJ goes there, tries to do business with him, selling him the horse, who is Lucky. It's Lucky, isn't it? He
yeah.
sells Lucky, and they're doing a bit of business. M kind of is around, being a bit, I guess, being a bit annoying, just looking at all of the memorabilia that Dupe has got on the wall, all these photos, kind of asking all these questions. And it's then that the connection between present day and the scene at the start of the movie starts to take shape.
Yeah, and he shows them into like his secret memorabilia room, which has
Yeah.
got loads of things about his other famous show. So he did like a cowboy show where he was like the Milky Bar Kid, um, using the
Drunk enough?
creamiest milk and the whitest bars to um to to save the day in the Old West. After that, he got a job on something called, oh, what was it called? Like My Pal Gordy or
Gordy's Home is called.
Gordy's Home.
Yeah.
It was on a show called Gordy's Home that was immensely popular, but then basically um knows about it. She says, "Oh, didn't that ape go crazy
Yeah.
one day?" Um,
Can I
and
go ape shit? Yeah.
yeah, and Gordy says, "Yeah, Blooming did," and I've got all of the things about it here. And
The only
he's
thing I kind of found a little bit strange about this is that he doesn't seem too like traumatized by it.
no,
Like I kind of thought, especially when you see the flashbacks towards this, I thought that maybe there would have been more about the trauma he was experiencing from that, and why perhaps he still kept all this memorabilia in this special sort of closed off area where he had like props from the show and photos and recordings and all these things. Yeah, it was weird because I thought, especially considering how the kid, there's an extended sequence where we see him as a kid like terrified of Gordy like going ape shit. Um, but yeah, he doesn't seem particularly bothered. This is probably one of my only problems in terms of character wise. I thought that this character Dupe didn't feel like there was much going on for him. I don't know. I don't know how you felt about that.
yeah, I'm not sure that like I can see how he's got there. It felt almost like these people could have been two characters at a time because there's the background that leads him to open this thing, but I almost feel like his experiences as a as a child would perhaps give him the opposite reaction to what he
Yeah.
is doing later on here. But I can go with it. It doesn't take me out of it entirely. But also looking at this with hindsight, I think how impressionable and how things influence you when things happen as a child. Bearing in mind, Ben, brought this up on the show before. I still grind my teeth about Mrs. Radford, and not saying,
Hang on a
not
minute.
answer,
You've not mentioned that.
not answering,
What?
not answering the register correctly. I
Yeah.
have never, as a impressionable teen, like a young teen, I've never seen people I work with and know really well, and probably consider almost members of my family, getting thumped to death and having their faces eaten off by
Yeah,
an alien.
yeah, yeah. And then
I
wanting to
think,
make a little exhibition of your
yeah,
time on that show.
yeah, and then I've never seen those things happen. I feel fairly confidently that if I was to experience that, I'd be fucked up forever. Not just telling like a fun story about it.
Yeah.
I guess people deal with things
Hmm.
differently, and he deals with it because he mentions there are fans that do it, and then a Dutch couple paid him like 20 grand to sleep in his trophy room overnight because they
Yeah.
love Gordy and Gordy's home.
I
And
mean,
the idea that ape punched a girl and
yeah.
ate a man's
I
face.
really enjoy. Obviously, we see that there's like a sort of shoe that's got a little couple of specks of blood on it that he's got in a cabinet, and then we see when we do the flashback, we see the shot of that shoe perfectly balanced, standing up after during the ape attack, and little touches like that are are really good, and I do really appreciate them. I just think it was maybe a slightly missed opportunity to have the character of Dupe be this kind of like it was weird. I didn't really know what to gain from him because he seemed like he was kind of at odds with the. I don't know. I felt like he needed to be one thing or another. He needed to be a character who was like traumatized and damaged, or a character who was also traumatized and damaged, but maybe a bit of a bastard going up against these,
Yeah.
exploiting them by taking their horses off them, maybe for a price lower than what they were worth.
What they're actually worth. Yeah, and
Yeah.
maybe that's it. Maybe it's difficult to pass because that is effectively what he's doing. He is taking the bit, and he wants to try and buy his horses back, but obviously we
Yeah.
find out later that's not going to be possible. Excuse the squeaking, by the way. Axel's got a ball that he's insisting on playing with here. I won't sell him to Dupe.
It sounds
Um,
really strange. It sounds like one of those tubes.
yeah,
You
it
know,
is.
when
It's,
it when
it's
it one
yeah,
of them.
it's several of them in a ball that I can't be
Nice.
certain whether he loves or hates it, but he does intensely play with it sometimes. And
Yeah,
just
both probably, isn't it?
yeah. Anyway, that'll continue momentarily in the background. Apologies, but yeah, his actions that he's doing are kind of at odds with how he acts outwardly. Like he doesn't play hardball
Mm.
with OJ. He doesn't say, "Nah, nah, sales are final. I've sold that horse on,"
Yeah,
or like, "Oh, I just," but he wants to buy the entire ranch off them. But he's very
I'll buy
he
you a ranch for
feels he feels quite open and friendly with them, and that's the offer
yeah.
he makes off camera. And there's as OJ and Emma walking away, he tells them he's offered to buy the entire ranch off me.
I just thought maybe this film needed something like that. Needed like an antagonist who wasn't, the main threat
Yeah,
in terms of his otherworldly thing, but maybe like somebody who was like constantly throwing spanners in the work for these characters who were trying to, film the UFO, sell their horses and stuff like that. I just felt like it needed something, and I thought someone was introduced. I thought there was a character that was introduced that was going to be that foil and kind of make things go a little
harder.
bit tits up, but that person was killed off fairly quickly. Um, so yeah, I think that was the only one of my, I haven't got too many criticisms of this film, but I think in terms of that,
Just
it
don't
needed.
you just don't quite follow that character in particular.
Yeah, I was a little bit. Yeah. So
Yeah,
is it now we get the exact flashback of what happened, or do we still just see a bit?
we
I guess we might as well talk about what happened.
yeah we've brought it up. Let's mention it. I think it's a little bit later that we get it, but at some point we do see Jupe have another think about this, because he is standing in his office before the big. It's he's standing in his office before he goes and does his show at the ranch,
Hmm.
and it looks like the flashback we see he's thinking about. So yeah, we go back to the scene from early in the movie a little bit later, and in it we see it's a really classic 90s sitcom moment, right? It's
Hmm.
um a real, like, a family, and they're together having a birthday party for a chimpanzee. And the dad has been embarrassed because, like, he's got him like a rubbish present.
Yeah.
That we walk in halfway through the jokes and we don't really see. He's like, oh, I've always set this watch to this time because that way you'll know. And it's like, oh yeah, you've got a crap present. And then the daughter comes in and she's got him a big box full of balloons.
Yeah.
And I guess the parallels here are with the horse that we see get spooked on the film set with the reflection in the light. But this is another example of this same behavior where a balloon pops on set and it spooks a chimp. Now, you spook a horse on set, you might get kicked. Worst scenario is the horse runs and maybe does some terrible damage to itself and people around there. A little
Hmm.
stampede on your hands there. But if a chimp goes crazy on set, my goodness, don't you know about it? Um, and it's not. I don't think it's gratuitous at any point. Quite often, the visuals will cut. We don't overtly see
Yeah.
an ape going absolutely hog wild on
We
a
essentially see
cast
it
of sitcom actors.
from Dupe's point of view for pretty much the entirety, don't we?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
under the table, and you see he's hiding under the table. You see him looking out, and you sort of see through the film of this tablecloth. Um, Gordy, quite roughly, you see him, like, you can see the girl is breathing quite raspy breaths, and he runs up and he's thumping her kind of off, doing the classic. For players of Super Smash Brothers, if you play as Donkey Kong and use his down A special attack when he does the like the hammering on the floor,
Yeah.
he basically does that attack on her. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, he's hammering effect, and
And
you hear some crunching. He's eating this person's face off.
yeah. So even though we don't see the face off bit, we do get confirmation of some face off stuff, some
Yeah,
maulings
some
happening.
face off antics, and then the guy who was playing the dad basically wanders through, and the ape also chases him, and I assume he catches him offset and kills him. Then Gordy comes back in. We get the bit we saw at the beginning of the movie where he looks through, but at this point, maybe he is, because at this time he's already been nudging the girl again and nudging her shoe. Perhaps he's having had time to calm down. Obviously, an ape thinks about things in a slightly more complex fashion, despite still being a wild animal. They think in a slightly more complex way than other animals might. And he is calmed at this point, perhaps a little bit. And you see, even though it's still quite scary, he has seen Gordy, and not Gordy, he's the ape. The ape is Gordy. Gordy sees Dupe under the table.
Hmm.
He comes over to him, and he already seems less agitated. We saw when we were at Dupe's ranch earlier on, he showed that fist bumps were a thing that he said with the first exploding fist bump on television was in Gordy's home. And you see he doesn't attack him. He puts his hand under the table, which in the trailer, because why would you expect there to be a chimpanzee in this movie?
Yeah.
You think it might be an alien's hand because
Yeah.
they've got strange looking hands. He offers him a fist bump, and then as Jupe goes to give him one back, Gordy is shot. They murder him. They murder him just like Harambe, except
Harambe, yeah.
Gordy has killed two people. Well, killed 1.5 people. So they shoot him, and that is the end of that scene.
So Dupe also mentions in this moment. Sorry, I thought I just mentioned this as well just before you finish. He also mentions he's like, I would explain it to you, but you might as well watch this Saturday Night Live sketch with these people playing it. And he seems like over the moon that he's been kind of immortalized essentially in a Saturday Night Live sketch for something that was traumatic. And in a way, it's like he's taken that trauma and like properly buried it, and kind of just tried to look at the benefits of this tragedy in a way where he's like, look, I can make money from having I was in that show, so I can make money from having all the things, and Saturday Night Live have done a sketch about it, and sure, people got their faces ripped off and people got murdered, but at the same time, I kind of made money from it. I made a career and a legacy from it. And I just think about how, obviously we will get to this, but how does that plot line and how does that instance relate to how he tries to make some sort of thing happen with this UFO jean jacket? Obviously we will get that.
I I'd not thought about it until you just mentioned it then, but the piece with the Saturday Night Live analogy, really interesting bit of storytelling there. Because if you consider it, it's kind of like a traumatic event has happened, essentially. Probably one of the most terrible things you can imagine seeing as a person.
Yeah.
And also being incredibly scared for your own life at the same time. But when he revisits it with other people, the fact that he doesn't tell the traumatic story of this thing that happened to him. He tells a sanitized and different version.
Yeah.
He avoids having to retell that horrible story himself by basically saying, well, there's a comedy version of this. It was done by actors. You're not telling the story of this horrible thing that happened to you. You're retelling the synopsis of a comedy sketch.
Yeah.
In many ways, it's almost like us doing it here on this podcast. If we watched a film so horrible and so terrifying that it was really hard to describe, that we spared all of our listeners the terror by talking about it, someone who was so triggered by that film. So if someone has watched Spookums 8, the scariest horror film ever made, someone go, oh, what happens in bloody Spookums 8 then, mate? They go, I couldn't tell you, but I tell you what, listen to episode 495 of the Horror Hangout.
Wow.
We've got to make sure we get through Spookums 1 through 7. Obviously, I put it far enough into the future.
I can't describe it, but Andy Conduit Turner has got some fantastic hot take.
They talk about it, so you're kind of separating yourself from that trauma, I guess is what I'm getting at. Really interesting point, and I wonder where the inspiration, because I imagine that must happen, right? I imagine people might look at it and things like that.
Yeah, I expect so.
Same way, Ben. We're bringing up. We talked about her before podcast. Your dear old mom. I know that her favorite movie, Titanic.
Yep.
She could talk about the plot of the film Titanic, and it's separate. It's a piece of entertainment, far less harrowing for any really old people that she might be talking to than talking about the actual sinking of that cruise liner.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. I love Titanic. It's really great. Well, I hate it because I was there and it was terrifying, and I only just survived. I ended up climbing onto a door. But there was only just enough room for me on it. Luckily, I survived. It was great.
Me and my treasure that I had with me. There's no room for Leonardo DiCaprio. Had to go into the inky depths.
Exactly. But I think the point stands that something that is traumatic for some, maybe they deal with it in one way or another, but your memory of it may be completely different based on your first exposure to it. Yeah. And as I mentioned, the story of that lady getting her face chewed off by an ape in real life has always kind of stuck with me. When anyone ever goes, this chimpanzee, right? These PG Tips adverts. PG Tips adverts. I go,
Jeff Tips, everybody nuts off, lickety split.
Is that the tagline? That's the tagline for it. Love your nuts off, lickety split. Okay. So we get the Gordy's home sort of subplot, which is, I guess, open to interpretation how you want to think of it as being, but in the same sort of way as the Us movie with the hands around the earth thing. I know that was very relevant to a certain part of the film, but that kind of felt for a while like it was not really related to the main plot, wasn't it? The hands around the earth thing. So Jordan Peele's obviously very good at creating that sort of coloring in these worlds that he's got with these extra little subplots and little ideas and little
kind of
thematic things.
secondary narratives that you can unpick later. My take on this is that it parallels along with the horses, and then with the creature that we see later. Maybe we'll unpack it and look at this a bit more when we've introduced a little bit more to Jean Jacket themselves. But it feels like a lot of what this movie has to say is, to a degree, our relationship with animals, and particularly how we use them for entertainment and so on, and how they feature in movies. And I think there is a sliding scale to it, because as much as you've done it again, Ben, a great unintentional theme. We talked about Prey last week, and that's a great example, because I don't think anyone, certainly very few people, as long as they're treated well, really have that much of a problem with dogs appearing in films, because dogs are domestic animals that are, that want to be around us, that that choose to, that live with us as companions, as well as doing things, and are trained to do, can train to be in movies, and as long as they're treated well, it's fine. Then you have the other animals that are in a movie like Prey, where they used all CGI animals for Prey. There was a bear, there were there were wolves and everything. They were all computer generated. You don't have to go too far back in our history. What was the one we watched? Link. Films like Link, films like Dunstan Checks In, that have animals in them, and now we know that quite a lot of those animals, not all of them. I'm not going to speak to
We can
all
add
of
this
them.
film to the series of monkey horror.
The series of monkey horrors. It's a shame should have got
Horror Hangout.
other Ben around. Yeah, like
So
I think
including,
yeah.
sorry, I'm going to list them. Link, Monkey Shines, Congo,
famous horror movie,
famous horror movie.
and Dunstan Checks In.
Dunstan Checks In. Is that all? I don't think we've done Shakma as like a full episode, but I think we've definitely mentioned it.
Got it on the cards, haven't
Monkey
we?
horror. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but add this in there, and I think that's partially a consideration here, that we have a generation that are making films with what are wild animals. Horses fall into, I guess, an area between dogs and apes, because they are
They're half
animals
dog, half ape.
they're domestic animals. They live with us. We have worked and lived with horses as companions for hundreds of years, but they don't, less so than dogs. Like the horse's concept of doing something that is entertaining, I think, is far less, and they need to be treated with a degree of respect, because they'll kick you.
I'll kick you right in the face.
Yeah.
So what kind of happens after this then? So obviously sell the horse. They've had all the Gordy's home stuff.
Gordy's home, we've jumped forward a little bit, but after the OJ and M go back, basically we have our first encounter with Jean Jacket. They're at home. They're spending the evening together. They're talking. They're
blasting the
reminiscing on
tune.
memories. Got some
Blasting the
music on.
tunes to such a ridiculous degree where I'm like, what sound system they got going on there? You can, well, I guess
Very loud.
Good
They've got no neighbors, I guess.
Got no neighbors, but I guess just good acoustics in the valley because it's blasting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
then
but he horse gets robbed.
horse gets robbed. Is that what happens?
Yeah, Ghost is out in the Ghost is out in the paddock.
So we get these like title cards as well, don't we? Which seem to be the names of the horses, but then we also get a section which is Gordy, which is when we sort of see the sort of story of Gordy kicking off. But yeah, this is Ghost, and Ghost is like gone out. It's a really weird sort of, it's lit. So again, this is what reminds me of something like Close Encounters, or something that reminds me of a real Spielberg film, is that it's lit in such a way that it doesn't really look like real life, but there's something about it. It's kind of like there's something fantastical and strange and very alien about it. That if a flying saucer just comes across the mountains, across the hills, it doesn't feel. It feels like it's places in this film. It just feels like that kind of movie. Just get that vibe from not just the soundtrack, but I guess the cinematography as well, is what I'm trying to say.
And we get a glance. OJ sees a glance of the shape in the clouds at this point, right?
Yeah, I think, and this is well done because. So I think you see it move quite quickly, but a few more times you see it, it's unlike anything we've kind of really seen, I guess, in alien movies. And I guess it's not a conventional UFO, but it's not like whizzing around. And yes, it's kind of hovering a few times, but it kind of just like kind of drifts through and kind of almost like it's how would you say, kind of like stalking in a way
Yeah.
from the clouds.
Yeah, it's haunting. It's stalking through the clouds, and electronics tend to go off when it gets nearby.
Yeah.
Ghost bolts away and is really slurped up.
So what happens when so Daniel Kaluuya goes on to he goes a bit further away and he can kind of hear the music coming from his house, but then he can hear somebody talking. Is Dupe, isn't it? Like just over the other side of the valley. Dupe's like
Yes.
practicing something.
Yeah.
Is that right? What's happening?
I think you see it a couple of times. I think if he goes along a little bit, you can hear the shows that are going on
Yeah.
down
Okay.
at Dupe's theme park. But on this occasion, I think it's when the horse basically bolts away, and then you see what happens. There's a big cloud of dust, and the horse is gone
Yeah.
effectively. And we see a little glance. He goes back into M and explains what it's really bring out because again, see a spaceship, you don't really want to talk about it, but the horse is definitely gone. So M comes up with an idea that again,
At least Emma's pretty much straight off believing him. We
yeah,
don't get most of the people who kind of involved in this, right? So obviously the guy, the tech salesman guy, and then the cinematographer guy who get dragged into it later. No one's kind of just like saying this is
bloody
this is
idiot. Yeah.
this is bollocks. Everyone kind of believes immediately and says like, all right, yeah, let's get involved.
So it builds up. M straight away realizes that there is money to be made if you can actually get good footage of what a UFO, an actual UFO. So they go shopping to get some
Yeah.
bits.
So obviously they initially tried to see through their cameras, and I think one of their cameras is off and it's not a very good picture. So yeah, they go to Fry's Electronics, which is a real place apparently. And they get a load of surveillance cameras, which look like top of the range. And Angel Torres says he'll come and help set them up. Initially, they're a bit like, no, we don't need you to, but he's like, come on, you're not gonna be able to set these up.
You don't have to do it. It's real hard.
And he turns up to the ranch and he has a bit of a weird sort of like semi breakdown where he kind of like shouts and then says he's just gone through a breakup.
Yeah, he's a funny character. I like this guy.
Yeah. So he helps set up these cameras, and he basically says like, look, if one camera's out, the other camera will sort of make up for it by kind of aiming.
Yeah, they're all on battery backup, and basically, if one camera goes out, the other one will look at this guy because he's kind of rumbled very quickly that what you're doing is looking for aliens, right?
Yeah, so he seems like the kind of guy who's interested in all that stuff as well. I guess maybe what we're supposed to believe is that people who live in this area kind of already know it's kind of like a UFO hotspot in a way, because he does say he makes kind of a joke about them. Oh, it keeps dropping out your thing. Well, you're not in a UFO hotspot, are you? And kind of like laughs and then realizes that they go, what? And he's like, oh yeah, okay. So he helps them set it up, but when he leaves, he's essentially monitoring the cameras.
Yeah, he offers to monitor the feed for them. He goes, "Oh, I'll monitor the feed for you for nothing if you want." And they're like, "Nah."
No, you're right. Get out of here. But he just does it anyway. Probably breaking all kinds of confidentiality.
It's the US. There's no GDPR.
There's none of that.
Yeah, he does that. The theme park owner, he calls round, invites them to a family and friends event.
They have a weird like shouting conversation.
I really liked this bit,
which I think is always funny, isn't it? Yeah.
Hello, stay over there though. It's like, okay.
And I think he even shouts thumbs up when he gives the thumbs up, just because you can't see it. Thumbs up. And she goes, shall I do it back? Yeah, do it back. Yeah. This,
Nice little character moments. I'm glad they take time for things like this.
yeah, definitely. But that's the thing. As I said, nice character moments, but Daniel Kaluuya is really good at kind of like emoting so much without even really saying or doing anything. Reminds me of Ryan Gosling in a way. You know, like Ryan Gosling kind of just stands and kind of like he's not quite smiling, but he's kind of like just looking and kind of like this, and it just says so much. And I feel like Daniel Kaluuya's got that sort of
Got
charm to him as
that
well.
same skill.
Yeah, where you're just like, um, yeah, he's really good at it, and obviously Keke Palmer's just like OTT, but in a not in an annoying way at all, but like
Really, really like
in a like a charming
endearing.
way as well, I guess.
You kind of see them as you do see them as like a family. You know, you get those little dynamics. They clearly
Yeah,
really care about each other, but they're very different
because
people.
there are a couple of family moments as well. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off then, but there are a couple of family moments where Keke Palmer says there was a time where they took a horse that was supposed to be hers and her dad was training it and she was looking out the window at it, obviously really upset, and dad didn't even look up, but you did. And then obviously there was a key moment where Daniel Kaluuya's character as a kid like points to his eyes and points back at her. So it's almost like those family moments are like she realizes that he, even in that moment, he was still thinking about her. And that's
Yeah.
something that she's been happy about and she's held that memory dear since she was a kid.
Yeah,
So
she's held it in. And the horse that she was going to train, that was going to be her horse, went off to being the Scorpion King.
do you know what? I love that. I absolutely loved it because I think they said it was a Western, and they go, no, it was a Scorpion King. And when the hoodie comes out later, again we'll mention it. But I was like, yeah, that's pretty. I wonder
That is
why that decision was made for that to be the film that they could have talked about. And I'm sure there's a story there, you know.
maybe it's because, you know, and he does say after all that, we went all that time, spent the time on set. They didn't even use it in the end, they used
Use
camels.
camels, yeah.
And that is true.
They didn't even use the rock either. He was
In the
just
Scorpion King, he has a camel.
didn't even use the rock. They just used CGI.
Ah, you're thinking of the Mummy
I'm
Returns.
thinking of the Mummy Returns. I am, yeah.
In the Scorpion King, he's just the Rock, and he has a camel.
Yeah. What a time. I kind of want that hoodie though, you know.
Yeah, I think we should. They should be readily available already. Orange
I've already
Scorpion King
Googled it,
hoodies.
Andy. I've already Googled it. Someone's selling it on Etsy
Just orange Scorpion King hoodies.
with like, I just want to wander around in it. No, it's 20 quid. That seems all right, isn't it?
That's not bad for a hoodie.
I might get involved in that, you know. I'm not joking.
Oh, before the episode's out, I'll have one on the way. Um, yeah, so yeah, they have these family dynamics. They're building up to this thing, and I think M also phones the director that was on the film that was with them and says his name's Antler, and they say
Is
Antler,
it the director or is it just like the cinematographer?
the cinematographer, so he's the DP,
Yeah.
right?
I recognize this guy as well, Michael Wincott. I think he's like a character actor and he's been a few
Yeah, I'll dig
different.
out who he's what he's in.
Been in. I recognize his face as like something sci-fi. I want to say like one of the Alien, maybe like Alien 3 or Alien Resurrection. He's just got one of them faces. But yeah,
Michael Wincott. You said you recognize him from possibly one of the Alien films.
yeah.
Can confirm he is in one of the Alien films. For an extra point, do you want to
Oh
try and
God.
guess which one you know him from?
So I was gonna say Alien 3, but I swear the whole cast of Alien 3 is British, and I don't think he is. So let's just say Resurrection.
He is from Alien Resurrection.
I don't like this. See, the tone of voice you've got right now is like the tone of voice when you're quizmaster,
Yeah,
and it's making me feel a little bit. It's making me feel a little bit under pressure.
Yeah, he is in Alien Resurrection. He plays a gentleman by the name of Frank Elgin, who I think is like is he the badman? Is he the guy that has got them to bring the aliens in the ship?
Yeah, possibly. You know, I can't really think. I can only think of like his face.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
him. That's him anyway. But I like him in this. He's but they phone him up and they try and get him to come in and say, they always say that you're the cinematographer who can get the impossible shot. We have an impossible shot for you to get. They don't want to tell him really what it's about. So they say, oh, we're making a documentary. And he goes, got a bloody lemon meringue pie in the oven.
Oh yeah, he does say that. Yeah, because he's always editing footage of like animals killing other animals, isn't he? So he's got
Yeah.
some sort of interest in the natural world, I guess you would
Yeah.
say.
So yeah, he is doing he's doing that. He hangs up. He's not really interested. They've also set up like a decoy horse, knowing that whatever it is steals horses, the aliens.
Oh yeah, decoy horse, but it's a horse that they've stolen from Dupe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that Emerald has stolen from Dupe.
Yeah, they've stolen it, and that's why she doesn't want him to come into the field and they do their thumbs up thing. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So they're going through this, they're trying to get alien footage on the day that the decoy gets taken, and we Angel is there watching the camera feeds illegally. Um, but he phones and basically outs himself because a praying mantis
Yeah.
goes over the lens, and he goes, "There's a mantis on the lens."
I didn't know
Um,
what it was for ages first. I
I
know
thought,
they said
bloody
there's a man.
alien.
I was like, that's a bloody alien. That's not a mantis.
um,
And Emerald does like go up there,
throw
climbs the
some
ladder,
Sour
gets
Patch
on the
Kids at
roof.
him.
Oh yeah, no, I did like that. She was like, hey, what did she say?
I know the taste of Sour Patch Kids.
I don't know why, but like, isn't it weird? Just like, it's even a little detail like that just adds so much to a character. Just adds like, that's it. Just that little character trait is like, okay, she got sweeties on her all the time. We like that.
Oh, I'll tell you
She,
what though, just saying the words Sour Patch Kids has made my mouth like sometimes it like
oh yeah,
little tingle like
tingly.
because it sours. My mouth is like almost given me the experience of sour
Yeah.
sweets without having to eat any.
Uh, and then what
So
happens? I think,
they do that. The the decoy horse is taken, and we see the string of bunting from it kind of
yeah, this is weird
hanging
because do
from
you
this
remember
cloud.
do you remember what we kind of thought when we saw the poster originally? We were like, is it a kite? I think weren't sure.
Yeah,
Like, is
we
it
think
some
it's
sort
going
of
to be a
kite?
kite, but no.
That's good. That makes a lot more sense. And then obviously when the footage is reviewed, the next day is when Angel notices that there's a nearby cloud, essentially like just on the horizon that never moves. So he plays like a sort of time lapse of all the clouds moving, and there's a cloud bang on in the center that doesn't move, which obviously is the UFO camouflaging itself using a bloody cloud.
Yeah, which is really like it's a really cool effect. So now Angel is 100% on board with them.
Yeah.
Um, I think this narratively at this point is where we then flip to the Gordy story. And knowing what's happening, I think OJ says he's going to go and get Lucky back, the horse that he's just sold.
Yeah. I wonder why that is. I wonder if it's just because he feels that Lucky's going to be key to him, whatever they want to do with the UFO at this stage is not entirely clear. If they want to kill it, lure it out. Well, I guess lure it out to get the shot
I
of it.
guess
The Oprah shot, which obviously what Keke Palmer says they need to get.
like an undeniable bit of
But then
proof
again,
this
if they want to
exists.
hire a cinematographer, a man who's going to film it with an IMAX camera, who's going to believe that that's
Mhm.
legit real footage? You know what I mean? They're going to be like, well, it looks like a film, so
I guess if he's known for
special effects.
his natural shots, then maybe they want his credibility.
Yeah.
But they're trying to navigate also the fact that they can't use technology near it. So on as well because
Yeah, of course.
it will go down and stop working.
Mm.
I guess the only other feature that we have in there as well that we during the scene with the praying mantis and the decoy horse being taken, we also get the added drama that some um Jupe's kids mucking about dressed
Yeah,
as
of
aliens.
course.
He thumps one in the face.
That was kind of weird because honestly, I just thought, okay, well, that's the aliens. Here they are because they're like little, sort of little round heads with beady eyes and little furry bodies, and they walk very much like the tethered. Is it tethered in Us?
Yeah,
Weird and like sort of like almost like interpretive dance. sort of.
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, and this is the first instance of OJ name dropping the film as well. Nope.
Yeah.
When he's trying to film, because it is a creepy when he zooms in on. I was waiting for a jump scare
Yeah.
on this bit.
And like the little head is peeping around the
Little
corner.
head's peeping round, and then one swings down next to him. OJ punches it, and then obviously the head
He
falls
gets
off,
all
and it's a
bloody ill.
kid in disguise. Bloody hell, you had to punch me for. And then, again, this was also a bit jarring because I was almost like, I didn't get. Again, it was just the character of Dupe. I think if I understood that he was messing with them, he was trying to get at them, he was trying to, take the ranch off their hands, then I would understand why these kids were just mucking about, like he'd sent them over or
Have the
something. But
kids gone because they stole the decoy horse?
yeah, probably. There's like a little bit of a battle going on, but I don't know if it's as prominent as perhaps I wanted it to be in this.
I would have almost taken, and again, it's not necessarily a critique. Yeah, the right that some pieces of the puzzle don't quite fit together. I would have taken it maybe the other way as well. That maybe if they, because he says that he's trying to build a working relationship with them. I would have also taken it if maybe they did because they were the closest neighbors they had to one another.
Hmm.
Maybe they would maybe take it the other way and have them slightly more friendly, on slightly friendlier terms, and say, this is, I've been friends with the family for a long time. We're buying horses off you because we're doing okay and you're struggling for money, so this is a thing I can do to help keep you afloat. He
Hmm.
offers to buy them and just establish that relationship a bit more, and then also put it down that it's kind of someone who you might borrow one of their decoy horses without asking, and the
Yeah.
kids would be around on your thing fucking about, and you'd know them by name, and be like, oh, maybe you would, oh, fucking, I've punched my neighbor's kid in the face. Yeah, I could have taken that a different angle. Again, it isn't too jarring. It doesn't take me out of it necessarily, but I think there are ways that could have been a bit smoother.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think now we get some more of the Gordy's home stuff, and this directly leads into Dupe introducing his live show at Jupiter's Claim. He's all done up in his lovely rhinestone Western outfit. He's got quite a small crowd, I guess, watching him.
It's a family and friends. It's the family and friends
Oh, I see.
preview. So this is the
Oh, okay.
people that.
It
So it's
says here as well that
all
he's
of his
been.
staff, or it's his team, and it's people he knows because
Okay.
he introduces his co-star and first crush, the girl that got a face eaten off by the ape.
Oh yeah, and she's got like a hat with sort of like a veil on it. And again, that was a really key shot from the trailer where we're like, what's going on there? What could that be? What does that mean? But yeah,
A
it all kind of.
point to go into it. I know it's all been made clear in the latest trailer, but do you think the teaser trailer was deliberately misleading?
Yeah, and I kind of like that. I want it to be misleading, you know.
Yeah, because
I'd
of the
rather things were
first
like
trailer,
that.
it's like, is that a bloody alien woman with a
Yeah,
beekeeper face?
yeah, and
I
also
don't.
like
I
with a
think
what? A beekeeper.
a beekeeper little hat.
Yeah,
I think you could have given me 100 guesses at that. So right, what's that? What's that then? You could have showed me the still of the lady with the little veil
yeah,
over her face, and I would have guessed she's an alien in disguise. She is like been mutated by the aliens, like in the Tommy Knockers. I don't think with 100 guesses, I would have said, "Oh, she's a former teenage actor, had a face eaten by a chimp."
yeah. I
Never
mean,
would
maybe
have
you got
guessed that.
half of that. Chimp. No, probably not. Um, yeah. So obviously, Dupe uses Lucky. Lucky's in like a sort of clear plastic cage, I guess,
Yeah, for
to lure out the UFO. It says here
feeding
that
them to aliens.
he had fed it horses that he bought from the Haywoods before in front of a
That's
pen.
They're the ones that he's been buying, which is why I guess he doesn't want to entertain the idea of buying the horses back
Yeah,
because the
that's true.
horses have sold.
Can you sell the horses back to me now, please? I mean, I'd love to. I would love to, but
Fed
they
them to
legged it.
aliens.
They legged it.
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh,
he's been feeding them to aliens, and he gives this announcement that like I want to show you a thing. I've encountered something. What you're going to see is going to change your life. I've encountered something, and I
and it'll
believe
be
you're
here
going
in
to
an
trust
hour.
me.
He says it'll be here in an hour, and I'm like, what fucking places to be?
They always come at sundown, don't they? But
Oh yeah.
not on this occasion.
No, he
um,
does say his kids are going to do like a little Super Bowl halftime show dressed as aliens
for an hour.
for an hour, and he's also selling like
Loads of filler.
he's selling slush puppies. He's selling little toys of the aliens. I mean, he's obviously just made it up. There aren't actually any aliens.
And I guess he's capitalizing once again on that the trauma and the experiences he's had to try and find events that have happened in his life that he can then turn into a business. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it seems like
he's
that.
getting
It
ready
seems
for
like
it.
his goal.
But the little kids show gets cancelled because the aliens come early,
Yeah.
and you'll never guess what happens.
What happens?
But he slurps them all up, every single last one of them.
Slurps them all up, and I mean, I was a bit confused this moment. I was like, "What the hell's happening?" And then we get some shots from inside the alien craft or craft, of people like being very fire in the sky. I felt this, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like the sort of weird, horrible stuff on the ship, claustrophobic, otherworldly, very, very strange. People
If you
getting
get
devoured.
sucked in by that alien, it's kind of like if you had a very restless night's sleep and you end up. It's not happened to me since I was a kid. I think you are less restless when you're adult, but when you're a kid, you've been really restless and you've been mucking about in bed, and you end up inside like the covers that go around your actual duvet. You wake
Yeah.
up in oh no!
Exactly like that. Well, this is another thing that's interesting. Obviously, the ship slurps all these people up and eats them essentially in its big. The ship looks a bit like a cowboy hat as well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It floats down. What a touch that I quite liked was the fact that you can hear the screams of everyone it's eaten as it like flies around. Like the sound kind of follows it, and it's this weird, spooky, ghostly, like ethereal, weird, like wailing in the sky. Um, that obviously people are like, "What the hell's that?" And that's what it is. Yeah.
yeah. Um, OJ arrives at the ranch, sees everyone is gone. I think he hears the squealing of all the people in there
Yeah.
going, bloody hell.
Bloody hell! Get me out of here! It's horrible.
I'm being
Yeah.
eaten by alien. Oh, it's
And
so horrible.
he like goes into like a barn, doesn't he, and gets like KO'd for a while
Well,
as it like flies down.
He sees Lucky is still
Yeah.
there. I guess the alien is full of people.
Yeah, all full of people.
Full of people, and it's got a dicky tum from eating the big. What's the decoy horse made out of? Cement?
Yeah. I don't know.
Big,
Yeah, plastic. I don't know.
big fiberglass horse.
It's been bloody big fiberglass horse. It's been bloody 3D printed. This horse.
Yeah, so he's
Yeah, so
eating a fiberglass horse covered in string.
I think what becomes obvious now, and I think OJ does say it, but that UFO is not a spaceship. It's an actual creature itself. It's like a predatory, territorial creature which eats, I guess, anything that looks directly at it. But I think he maybe works that out in a while.
Looks that out a bit later, basically,
And obviously
treating it the
spits
same way it
out
treats a horse.
spits out non-organic material.
Because
Like keys.
he goes back to the house. After he's been knocked out in the barn for a bit, he heads home. Lucky's in the horse box, and it attacks Em and Angel are at the house at the time, and it's vomiting all of the inorganic stuff over their house.
Well, obviously he's got loads of. This was a true horror shot, I think, which was blood, essentially like rain in blood, a bit like sort of the Evil Dead remake, the final sequence. It was blocking out the rain, so it's pouring rain, but when the ship like goes over, or the creature goes over the house, it was blocking out the rain, and as it was vomiting out blood, essentially taking a dump on the house, but just all of the blood and guts and other inorganic bits,
Blood and keys and quarters and
a wheelchair.
fiberglass horses and wheelchairs and all sorts fill-ins.
Yeah. So they essentially get stuck in the house all night, terrified, and OJ gets like stuck in his truck because when he tries to come back, it flies.
It's a fiberglass horse to the windscreen.
Gets a fiberglass horse straight through the windscreen. Yeah, that was. I mean, again, that was a jumpy, scary moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think, after he's had the fiberglass horse to the windscreen, he goes, "Fine, I'll just get to sleep and wait for a bit."
That's the thing. Like, and he even says nope, but he is the sort of the straight-edged guy, the straight guy in this movie, where he doesn't do the cliched horror movie things, which is like, putting himself in danger at any given opportunity. He just steps back and takes himself out of the scenario. I know he puts himself in danger again, but
Yeah, great. It's a great moment. And then in the morning, or certainly when the storm has passed and the skies have cleared a bit, he encourages the other two out of the house. He encourages them to look down, so they're not looking directly at it. I think he's worked out that it's looking at it that triggers this kind of territorial response. He has a memory of his dad talking about how a horse is acting very territorial.
Yeah, that's right.
And again, flashing back as well to his work with the people on the film set, saying, "Don't look the horse in the eyes. They don't like it." Chimps as well, I think, don't like it if you look them in the eyes. Consider it as a threat.
Yeah.
Mustn't smile at chimps either. Smiling for chimps means your
You
mom.
fucking what?
It
what?
means you what?
What are you saying to me? I'll knock you clean out, mate.
Fucking eat your face right off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's established that they go to I take it as they're having po' boys and fish burgers. They go to, I guess, a Bubba Gump shrimp, but
Yeah.
can't
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
sure. I don't know what
It's
other
pretty much
American
that.
chains
I
do.
think it was called something else, but I mean, it's
Fish
pretty much
sandwiches.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So they're essentially staying at Angel's place, aren't they?
He's doing
And
right though. He's got a PlayStation VR.
he's got VR. He's got a gaming chair. He's got it all going on. Um, well, I don't know why this scene just made me laugh, because Emerald was just like using the VR and like sort of feeling up a door. Just kind of made me laugh. So yeah, essentially what they do now is make a plan of their own, which isn't to like defeat the UFO or like get their own back or anything like that. They still want to get a good shot of it, don't they? So
Yeah, and this is where they get some aid in, and this is your very Jaws moment, right? Because now it's on the news that kind of a lot of people have disappeared from
yeah,
the theme park.
keep the beach open. What's the
Yeah,
worst that could happen?
keep the beach open, and we hear Antler is listening to it on the local news. He's putting some more footage
Yeah,
together, and I take it that either M or Angel sent him the thing with the cloud not moving, and
yeah,
he phones them back just as they're saying no one wants any bit of this anymore, and he says like, "You're not full of shit. I'm coming," basically,
yeah,
and then they've got the next person that they need to
yeah.
kind of
Involved.
progress this a little bit more.
This is the going out on the boat at the end of Jules
Yeah.
to fuck him up. This is essentially it. They've got their crew together of all of these people with the same goal in mind, including the cinematographer who's got a wind-up camera.
Yeah.
Perfect, really, because they didn't specify that this creature shuts off all the electric items.
Yeah.
They didn't specify that, so luckily he comes along with a
With a
wind-up camera.
the wind up camera. Yeah, I really like this. I like I like the idea, and I like the kind of a bit of a heist movie moment where they start getting their plans together. They go and steal wacky arm flailing tube men. They steal
Yeah,
car batteries to attach them all to,
yeah,
so they can
it's
track its
good.
movements.
Because again, you're like, from the trailer, how did a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man come into it? Turns out they're very key to. And it's great. It's ingenious because it's a way of tracking the ship's movements without needing to see it. Because as soon as any of them shut down, you realize that's where it is. It's genius.
And whenever those arms stop wackedly flaming
Yeah.
their arms.
And also, Antler quotes a song, which I thought was quite cool. I did a little bit of research into this afterwards. The Flying Purple People Eater. He just ominously, and he has a few ominous kind of moments, doesn't
Now,
he?
who is the flying purple people eater by? Is it a Lewis Carroll one? No, that's the Jabble. What is the pup?
It is by Sheb Woolley. So yeah, Flying Purple People Eater, and he quotes like one of the sort of verses, and then he says like, when I came down to earth and laid in the tree, Mr. Purple People Eater, don't eat me. It was a one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater. And that's that's just some nice decoration for for the scene, sort of setting the scene in terms of this otherworldly thing, which is a purple people eater. It's not purple, but
It's kind of an off-white, like a cream,
yeah,
maybe a platinum.
maybe it could be any color at once. I reckon. Seems like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they get together with this plan, and how does it go down?
So they've set everything up. They've got all of the tracking, and then what they're doing is they know it's going to be the right time when when it's ready to eat again. So
Yeah, so it's obviously full up now, but it will come back and need to eat. They nickname it Jean Jacket after that horse that belonged to Emerald. But why did they name it Jean Jacket?
is it because Jean Jacket wasn't the horse? He goes, no, that was another one. So maybe he's really named the one that is going to be her horse, her picture. Maybe I haven't really unpacked that yet. Maybe they
Yeah,
did it because it's the thing that she is going to get this picture of that's going to
yeah,
help them make it. But
yeah.
the gang's all here. Um, I forget now how they get it to draw out eventually in initially, but they're kind of thrown off base because all of a sudden, a guy on an electric motorbike turns up, and it's
A lovely chrome helmet.
yeah, like Daft Punk turn up one half of. So Daft Punk come along, and they're TMZ, so the gossip
Yeah,
TV channel, and they do talk earlier on about how we have basically a window now to do this because the story is beginning to get out there and people are going to come.
yeah. Sorry,
And
there's
this
like a weird noise behind me. I think it's a moth, but like it's freaking me out now. Where I think it's gonna be,
one-eyed, one-horned purple people here.
yeah, a little Jean Jacket coming towards me and slurping me off.
Yeah,
Uh,
you
yeah. So
don't
it's
get
TMZ
yeah
reporter on a electric motorcycle as well.
yeah. So he comes along. Um, M tells him basically, "Oh, I wouldn't go that way if I were you. Like, don't." And he's trying to interview her at first, but then he keeps going, and he basically hits the field, the electric stopping field,
Yeah,
gets absolutely pied off his bike.
yeah. Gets absolutely pied off his bike, and yeah, this scene is kind of played for laughs, but and they're like, that guy's definitely dead, and then you just hear him wailing in pain.
Yeah, it's come ever so
Oh,
sharp
my
pulling off his bike.
arse.
He's right poorly.
He's right, poorly.
Yeah, he's right poorly. OJ goes to find him, and he goes very again, probably a comment on our modern society yet again here, Ben, because he's hurt himself and he's saying, "Why aren't you filming this? Where's your phone?
Yeah,
Why aren't you? Where's my camera? Why aren't you filming it?" And he's trying to help him up and get him out of there. And he tells him not to look, but of course he does. And even as he's being sucked up into the air, he's like, "Film it, film it."
film it. Why aren't you filming this? Please film it. I want to be famous before I die. See you later.
But yeah,
Chrome helmet.
he gets
What a
slapped up, and
helmet.
you hear him shout as well. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You hear
wow.
him as Jean Jacket like moves around in the sky. You kind of hear him screaming. Um, and Holst, who was doing really well, Antlers Holst, was that his name? Yeah, Antlers. He's doing really well at capturing loads of stuff. Keeps like changing the reel,
Yeah,
film reel,
he's reloading the reel.
reloading the reel.
He's getting it all in.
But he
But
just has a moment where he decides to
I did,
sacrifice. I
I
guess
don't think
sacrifice himself to get the shot.
I
But
think the light has been perfect. So he just basically goes out. This is like the last 20 minutes of the film right now. And it just escalates so quickly to the end here.
yeah,
He steps out with his camera and tries to get a shot of it, just literally a shot of him being slurped off.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
We did, and it is a good shot because we see his like legs flailing as he gets sucked into the thing. Yeah,
yeah. So he gets gone. Angel almost gets So that's how I think we forgot to mention they get the first shot because OJ deploys he's riding on Lucky, he deploys like a parachute, which is the same color as the the bunting that was on earlier, and I think they expect that if it sees that now because he's treating it like you would a wild animal or a predator, those
yeah,
bright colors gave it a dicky tummy before when it ate some up before, so it wouldn't be interested in them, and it does kind of avoid him being eaten.
yeah.
Him and Lucky
Yeah, it was
get
good.
away with it.
It was a good scene. Obviously, the shadow like chasing after him was was a
Yeah, it was
really good
great. It was a great moment. And then after Antler's been eaten, Angel, I think it throws out loads of stuff onto the house and basically explodes M out of the house.
He gets like wrapped up in a tarpaulin, doesn't he?
Yeah, Angel gets wrapped up in a tarpaulin, but manages to avoid getting eaten. But at this
This was
point,
another good thing as well, because in the trailer, it looked like there was a shot of Keke Palmer getting slurped off by something up into the sky, but it was cut in such a way where in this bit she gets slurped off a bit, but then kind of just falls and lands.
yeah, kind of the traction loses as the house collapses, right? And then so they're all basically out and exposed and in the open. Angel is wrapped up in like a tarp and barbed wire, but the damage to the things or eating too many bad items has kind of made the creature Jean Jacket go into its not its final form, but its next form that's a bit more like
Yeah.
a jellyfish creature and less
This
like
was
a smooth
what
UFO.
was kind of weird about this was it was kind of happening in the background at all times. You never really saw it necessarily changing. It looked a bit different in the background. It was always focusing on, Keke Palmer on the bike or Daniel Kaluuya on the horse. So when it was like unfurling and becoming this like weird floaty bed sheet slash jellyfish, it
Jellyfish ghost.
jellyfish ghost, it was kind of weird because you never really got a good look at it for quite a while.
Yeah. But then it's out. As you mentioned, Gem, yeah, M, not Gem. M, not Gem. M gets to the bike. But obviously because it's an electric bike, she's too close to the
Yeah.
alien for it to work. So OJ sacrifices himself. Basically, he has a look up right at the sky, looks it right in the eye, looking at you,
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah, he does that.
then
Obviously,
it
yeah.
it comes to get him. M sees the wacky arm flailing inflatable tube man um, come back to life, knowing that the power's back on, is able to absolutely peg it on the bike.
Yeah. Pegs it on the bike. And then it comes for her, but she goes straight to Jupiter's claim. This was weird because, and again, another throwaway moment with there was a moment earlier in Jupiter's claim where she looked down this well and it was like a photo. It was like a camera in there and it took a photo of her. Again,
Chekhov's camera well.
a throwaway moment that I really didn't check off camera well. I didn't think about it again. And then my partner Charlie, she said she's going to use the camera to take a photo of it, and I was just like, it was almost like, what, really?
Don't be stupid.
I was a bit like, was it even that key a moment earlier? But
Yeah,
it certainly
important.
was.
Yeah, she's got some pennies that she finds on the floor. She's putting them in.
Oh wait, she untethers the giant balloon mascot thing of Jupe as well.
Yeah,
That starts floating up, and she's basically just biding her time, waiting for the perfect moment. She keeps making it flash, and then she gets it in the moment when it just kind of like opens up,
yeah.
ready to eat the balloon.
Just her in a final attempt, and we've seen as it goes to eat OJ as well. It kind of opens a big square thing now and is
Yeah,
getting ready to pull it in. It's a
really, really weird.
weird and wonderful creature design. In many ways, been challenging my long held concepts of horror and creature design.
Something like cosmic horror about it as well.
Yeah,
I think
it's
like this,
very almost unnameable, hard
almost
to describe.
unnameable, almost indescribable.
Yeah,
Even though we've attempted to describe
you
it.
just described it. Yeah, it's a mostly sort of off-white, grayish, silvery creature that then turns to all the colors in a big square as it's about to eat them.
Yeah.
And then with her last attempt, as he said, no, not her last attempt, it just so happens that she stops trying to take photos after she's got one.
Yeah.
The last one, in the perfect moment, she snaps a great picture just as it eats the balloon, but that balloon gives it the dickiest tummy of all time, and it basically explodes.
Yeah.
It explodes. The danger has passed. You see coming out of the well that last picture has taken, and then
Yeah.
the police, I imagine, and news crews all arrive on scene.
There's a great scene with a great like Western soundtrack of like of some fog, well, some mist kind of clearing, and then we see OJ on horseback just at the entrance of Jupiter's claim.
Yeah, he's made it, and we know the alien is gone because the powers all come back on. She's
Scorpion King
with an
hoodie.
analog camera. Yeah, Scorpion King hoodie. He's done it. And that
Good.
last scene, I think we've gone through it reasonably quickly, but it's a really action-packed, like 20, 25 minutes right to the end there
Yeah.
of it all happening. That's where we get the Akira slide as well when she's getting to the park.
Yeah, it's great because she's all wrapped up in like crime scene tape. Because obviously she goes to Jupiter's claim where everyone went missing before. Well, we know what happened to them. So she's all wrapped up in crime scene tape, doing an Akira slide on an electric motorcycle.
Yeah.
Pretty iconic, to be fair.
Great moment. So yeah, and there we have
That's that.
the end of Nope.
End of note. We don't need any what ifs or any moment post credit moments. That's it. Done and dusted. All good. Suppose next up is name game. If you got another one word name game. I mean, you knocked out of the park last time, so I'm gonna let you take the lead. I've got a couple here, but I'm sure you're gonna.
I've not got as many this time, but let's see how we go. So, what's the have you got the clean tagline of what the Nope movie is?
The residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery.
Okay. So the residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny, chilling discovery when a mysterious, unmoving cloud in their property turns out to be the head of the Catholic Church.
I had this one written down as well. Pope.
Very good. Do you want to go for one to round robin this?
Terrifying, isn't it? Yeah, okay. I don't know about this one. Residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery. It's just someone who's really good at Call of Duty and kills them with a special technique where he doesn't even really need to even aim.
No scope.
No scope.
No scopes. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so the residents in a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery when they help their ranch business, but when they've got several strands of string, they twist them together to make a much more sturdy structure.
Rope.
Rope, correct.
I feel like I wasn't thinking about. I was thinking too hard about it. Yeah. Okay. How about this? The residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery. It's a guy called Tyler Durden coming door to door selling them a particular cleaning product.
Is it soap?
Soap. Correct. Yes.
I've got one for you here. The residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery. But when they actually really focus in on this discovery, just a bloke, ever so stupid.
Dope.
Correct.
Absolute dope. Have I got another one? I might have another one. Okay. The residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny, chilling discovery, and instead of facing it head on, I will just say it's not the two main characters here because that probably would be inappropriate. But instead of facing it head on, they just leave and run away to get married in secret.
Very good. Elope.
Yes. That's it, mate.
Yeah. Obviously, other rhymes are available. Antelope. Grope, but that would have been an unpleasant. That would have been an unpleasant one to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've got any more, get on the Facebook group. I love it when the Facebook group carries on the name game. We've left some on the table for you guys.
Yeah. Get involved. Okay. So now all we've got to do is rate the film. I can't really remember. We've covered Get Out and Us on this show. I don't really remember how I rated them, but I think I've already mentioned. I think I'm kind of feeling the same about them all. They're all kind of a certain level for me, but I don't know where you stand.
Yeah, I feel similar. I think they're all good, solid movies. I think of all of Jordan Peele's movies, It's hard to say because I've had more time to digest the other two, and I've seen certainly Get Out a couple of times by this point.
Hmm.
Um, I think there's probably more to take away from this film with another watch. Certainly how it relates to the behavior of animals, certainly how the trauma of those characters. Talking to you about it today, probably the opposite of my usual opinion. Usually we talk about something and I'm like, I'm not so sure about this, and I talk it up. Whereas actually I think your thoughts on the way that the characters, in particular Jupe, responds to things, I was like, oh, maybe that is a little bit of a gap. So I need to really watch it again to firm up if I can reconcile some of those pieces.
Yeah.
Um, it still doesn't make it any less an enjoyable movie. I really like Jordan Peele's like visual style, and I really like what he does with characters as well. I think they do take time to feel lived in and to feel that their relationships are very real.
Hmm.
So I think I really value that from those movies, that you actually get really fleshed out characters as well. So I'm gonna go a B today, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think considering we were with Prey last week was an A minus, I don't think I'd go as high with this. It may be something that I become more fond of as time goes on and with a rewatch. But I think I'm gonna go for a B plus. I think the reason I go for a plus rather than just a straight B is because I did really enjoy that sort of Amblin, Steven Spielberg esque kind of like magic and mystery that kind of went alongside it. And again, I think the soundtrack really added to that, but also the characters, the little character quirks, all the little additional subplot stuff that kind of just amplified this main plot, this main storyline, so much more. If it was just like a real basic alien invasion movie, perhaps I wouldn't have had as much fun with it as I did. So I think that the fact that it's made by Jordan Peele, who, as I've mentioned before, clearly has lots of directorial quirks and traits that he adds now, and his style is really becoming something of. And as I said, a Jordan Peele movie now, when it's released, feels like an event. It's like the next movie from Jordan Peele, not just like it's some movie. Who's it directed by? Jordan Peele. Now it's like Jordan Peele movie's out. It's an event. Got to go and see it.
Gotta go and see
Can't
it to
wait. Can't wait to
get
see what it's
involved in that
about.
conversation.
Similar to the way I guess that like M. Night Shyamalan back in the day, his movies would come out and it'd be like, I can't wait to see what the twist is. With this, it's not so much a twist, but it's kind of like I can't wait to see
What this is
what
actually about,
what this is actually about, because it's definitely not going to be about what it
what you,
seems like on the
yeah,
surface.
yeah, really, really agree. And what I'm really glad, I think maybe most glad of from Nope, is that it wasn't just here is a different aesthetic, but effectively here's a War of the Worlds, here is the
Yeah.
signs, but again, and it's this time.
Mm.
It was a bit different in their approach, and it's a bit different how they reacted. It's a bit different to the scale of that threat as well. I really liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're both pretty positive on that. There we go then. That is Nope. If you enjoyed us talking about this film, obviously go and find previous episodes. Just search on any podcasting platform, Horror Hangout Get Out, Horror Hangout Us. We've covered both of those films as well. See what our thoughts are on those and how they differ to this one. But there we go. That is that. So first of all, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Very, very big thanks to our current patrons, who are John Crinan, patron against his will, Ben Scaife, monkey patron, who obviously that would have been, we'll give you an extra special shout out for a movie containing a monkey. Stephen Christopher, Laura Kendrick, Toby Miller, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julia Bilgren, John O'Down, Nick Spill, and Pazuzu. Thanks to all of you.
Thanks,
In equal
everybody.
measure. I was getting a bit emotional then. My voice went a bit funny. Yeah, so thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. Head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors for more. We're on Twitter, which is at horror_hangout_. And we're on Instagram at Horror Hangout Podcast. Next week will be it's another new release, Andy.
Tell you what,
Tell
August
you what,
summer blockbusters in the horror genre.
you know that film Orphan?
Yeah.
Ever wondered about what would have happened when the orphan done its first kill, her first kill?
I mean, I hadn't until a film was made about it, and now I'm wondering about it quite a lot.
Now we're gonna find out. That'll be next week. Yeah. Tune in for that one.
Yeah, I will. I'll be here, Ben.
You will be. So, and also thanks to Andy for being a right horror dude.
Thanks to you for being a right horror dude, Ben, and for you listening as well, whether you're in the far-flung future or just in the next week or so,
Flar flung
or anywhere,
future.
yeah, or anywhere in between. Thanks for you being a right horror dude as well.
Thanks for being a right horror
So I assume
dude.
that you are.
Appreciate it. Take care. See you later, everybody.
Bye for now, everyone. Keep watching the skies.
Watch those skies.
Watch those.
Bye.
If a cloud doesn't move even for a second, get
Beat
suspicious.
a horse.
Yeah. Bye.